Major funding for Buzz is made possible by Partners in Financial Planning, a Southwest Virginia-based financial planning and investment management firm. partnersinfinancialplanning.com, with additional support by the American Advertising Federation of Roanoke.
It's just so ingratiating to realize what a difference we're making in our community. And that's what we're here for. And really working with Wordsprint really made us look at what we're doing and say, yeah, we're pretty good.
They're not the rich and famous. Their profit comes not from the thing they sell, but the good they do. Our nation has more than 1.5 million nonprofits that employ 1 out of 10 Americans, providing services that otherwise go unfulfilled, keeping our community connected when all else fails. But nonprofits often lack the tools to properly promote themselves, to inspire more donors and volunteers and clients to their cause. That's where I come in. I've been in the nonprofit world for nearly 20 years. I connect nonprofits with marketing professionals who donate their time and expertise so that, at the end of the day, these life-giving organizations can do more, do better, by creating more, that's right, buzz. In 2020 on Buzz, we featured 2 nonprofits in dire need of new identities.
Contessa!
Hi, welcome to Mill Mountain Zoo.
We are thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having us.
In Roanoke, Mill Mountain Zoo wondered if the word zoo was really the best way to explain its nearly 70-year history. Meanwhile, in eastern Montgomery County, Mountain Valley Charitable Foundation wondered if its name really reflected where it was located. There are lots of mountains and valleys. And it was getting confused with a controversial project cutting right through its community, the Mountain Valley Pipeline. In these episodes, I had to step out of my comfort zone, in more ways than one, to better appreciate the work that these nonprofits do.
She's very active right now. Yeah.
Meanwhile, I brought in the marketing company Wordsprint, owner Bill Gilmer, Heather Alderman, and Krista Iorio, to help these nonprofits step out of their comfort zone to rebrand themselves. On today's Buzz, we are going to revisit those 2 episodes to see again the great work that these nonprofits do for the communities they serve, and see how they have incorporated the pro bono rebranding that Wordsprint created to help them achieve more. That's right, Buzz.
So coming to the zoo really helped foster my love for animals, which is what, animal facilities like this should do. And as a result, I decided I want to work with wildlife. And so I moved on. I went to college. I studied wildlife science. I came here as a keeper before I became guest services manager. So the zoo became a huge part of my life. The importance of being exposed to all these animals from different countries is it fosters just a general love for wildlife. And if you maybe fall in love with, say, a snow leopard, maybe then you'll go, oh, let me look at what cats we have around here. And then you'll learn about your native cats. Like around here we have bobcats. And maybe people will learn about that, and then they'll learn, oh, maybe we need to do some conservation practices to help these animals.
Well, I grew up with zoos, so I grew up with the San Diego Zoo, and so when my family moved here, we were really interested in being a part of the zoo. We always had animals around, and so we wanted to, we're excited to have some place that did education and took care of animals, and so we always just kind of wanted to be a part of and help out the zoo as much as we could. Yeah, I think we share the planet with all these animals, and I think we have a responsibility to take care of them. And I know that sometimes there can be fear, that we don't know enough about animals, so we get afraid of them, and that makes us hurt their environment or hurt them. And so, we share the world with these things, and I think we should learn to appreciate them and learn just how to do that. So I think humans have a responsibility to kind of help protect the world and protect animals and to learn all we can about them. Yeah, and we volunteer with the education department, and I think the education mission here at the zoo is an enormous part of the work that they do, both in terms of taking animals out into the community, but also being a place where people can come and learn about conservation methods and what's happening with animals here in the Appalachian region. So I think that focus is an important distinction between what the Mill Mountain Zoo is doing and maybe some other zoos aren't.
A lot of the animals here are rescued or some way hurt and were taken in, so it's a lot of good stuff instead of bad. So they're taken care of very well, and it's not like the evil zoo.
For a while we were operated by Roanoke City for a number of years. We were operated by the JCs. And I believe it was in the late 1980s we became the Blue Ridge Zoological Society and set ourselves up as our own entity, if you will. And our mission has changed from the perspective of it's all about conservation and education as it relates to animals. And so that's sort of been the evolution of the zoo, where it was just purely a zoo to delight in people, and that we still want to do that, but we also want to convey the message of habitat conservation and the importance of these animals into our ecosystems, whether they're here or some animal around the world in some exotic place. Yeah, so red wolves have an interesting story. They were indigenous and native to the area. They are just about extinct, or almost considered extinct now in the wild. Mill Mountain Zoo has 3% of the world's remaining population in its collection. So it's super important. So one of the things that really underscored for me the importance of sort of a rebranding for the zoo, if you will, was having lunch one day with my wife. A mother and daughter were having lunch right beside me, and I happened to just overhear, not trying to eavesdrop, but overhear this conversation where this young woman was talking about going to college, and she wanted to study something in wildlife management or something like that. So I said, excuse me, I don't want to interrupt. I said, but I'm on the board at the zoo, and I said, we love to have young people up to do internships and anything like that. If we could help you, and I overheard you tell your mother that this was maybe something you were interested in. And her comment out of her mouth was simply, I hate zoos. That's what she said, I hate zoos. And I said, why is that? She said, because you guys keep animals against their will, and you keep them, tied up. And I'm like, well, that's actually not what we do, and that's not our mission. And so I went on to explain it to her. I'm not sure how much it actually sunk in, but what it sunk into me was, for this young person, that this was their impression of what a zoo was. I'm like, wow, we need to change something here, because that's not what we're about at all.
So Bill Gilmer, great to have you back on Buzz. You in 2020 helped two different nonprofits. There was the Mill Mountain Zoo in an episode that aired in August 2020, and then Mountain Valley Charitable Foundation that aired in December of 2020. Let's start with the zoo, and just share with me kind of what were some of the challenges that your team faced in rebranding the zoo?
I would say it's some of the challenges we face with most rebranding projects. Rebranding cannot be taken lightly. There's always history and affection for the previous brand, and you can't lose that loyalty with your current audience, and yet you might want to move towards something that captures more fully who you are. So it has to be done carefully, and I think the zoo did a great job of that. I mean, the board and Robin and David and all those people, Nikki, they were great, really good to work with. And I think we came up with some really viable options, and they've kind of chosen one direction to go, and we've been working it a little bit slowly, doing some intermediate iterations of this new look feel, so that the people that know and love the zoo will know that it's still them, and that it's not like this some new, like, oh my goodness, they've been bought by some conglomerate from China, anything like that. And it's been very successful. I know that they used this new branding for a donor appeal mailing in December, I believe it was, that was very successful, and the pieces were really good looking. So yeah, thumbs up. We really enjoyed working with the zoo. Great people.
Right. It seems like they gradually have implemented the wildlife conservancy piece that you guys worked really hard on in that original episode. So they're still retaining the Mill Mountain Zoo, but kind of gradually adding that newer rebrand.
Right. I mean, the basic tension, the dynamic there was that, a zoo generally has the connotation of animals behind bars. And they wanted to get away from that because what they really do is conserve. They are a conservancy. They are an animal habitat, and they wanted to get that in their messaging. But good grief, you can't lose Mill Mountain Zoo. It's a beloved icon in Roanoke, has been for years and will be for a long time. So hence the gradual adaptation of some of this new messaging about we really do conserve. We preserve wildlife. We protect animals that otherwise could not exist in the wild. And that's kind of the messaging that they wanted us to help amplify.
My name is Nikki Vudrin, and I am the board president for Mill Mountain Zoo and Wildlife Conservancy. So we decided to keep the word zoo, even though it has a negative connotation. The word zoo is zoology, which is the science of biology and with regard to animals. So it has a negative connotation in the public, but in the industry, it's a very serious, credible word. So we're keeping that in our name, and also it has a 70-year history. So we think it makes most sense for our name to be and remain Mill Mountain Zoo, and then Wildlife Conservancy added in. The latest addition to our zoology habitat here on Mill Mountain is Hyde, a 350-pound black bear. She's here because she was born in captivity and she's unable to live in the wild. Here she has a great spacious home, and it has actually really increased attendance. So our revenue stream is our attendance, and every guest that comes through the door helps us feed and care for our animals.
It's really inspirational to feel the community, feel you all behind us, helping to push us up over a hill that I've been waiting to see the top of for quite some time. And I'm so excited about what this will mean for us, about getting us away from an image that we aren't really anymore. We're no longer a little children's zoo on top of the mountain, and we're evolving. We really want to make an impact in this community, and I think sometimes separating yourself from the past is a way to move forward. So I'm so grateful, and this means so much to me. I've hoped for it and have been looking forward to it for 8.5 years.
Meanwhile, we have Mountain Valley Charitable Foundation, also has a pretty significant history, not as long as Mill Mountain Zoo, but still important. But they've done a pretty rapid embrace of the rebranding that you've created for them. Talk about that process.
Yeah, boy, that's another group that's great to work with. Just a really energized board. I mean, those guys, they make it happen. I know that you're actually from that community, so you know what I'm talking about.
This has been my home for nearly 25 years. A community collectively known as Eastern Montgomery County, Virginia, comprising the villages of Shawsville and Elliston, about halfway between Roanoke and Blacksburg. It's a place of incredible natural beauty, scenic mountains and valleys, with extreme poverty and historically a lack of services. I say historically because over the last 20 years there's been one organization that has taken up the task of providing those services. It's the nonprofit that gave me my start, Mountain Valley Charitable Foundation. But Mountain Valley Charitable Foundation has a marketing problem today because of all they've accomplished. So many of their programs go by different names and logos that folks don't recognize who created them, not to mention the added confusion arising from a controversial project that cuts right through Eastern Montgomery County, the Mountain Valley Pipeline. To help Mountain Valley with its branding problem, I invited back to Buzz our friends from Wordsprint, Bill Gilmer, Heather Alderman, and Chris DiOrio, who appeared on Buzz in August 2020 to help Roanoke's Mill Mountain Zoo. I told them about Dr. George R. Smith Jr., the founder of Mountain Valley Charitable Foundation. Dr. Smith first came to eastern Montgomery County in 1955 to create the region's first medical clinic in a house known as Meadowbrook. He later built a nursing home on the site bearing the same name. I explained to Bill that after the nursing home closed in 2000, Dr. Smith led Mountain Valley in an effort to repurpose it, working with Montgomery County to create in one wing the Meadowbrook Public Library. It was for this project the foundation held its first of many unique golf tournaments, the Meadowbrook Open, held on the cattle farm of our former state senator, Madison Marie. The foundation later renovated the rest of Meadowbrook into the Waldron Wellness Center, Meadowbrook Museum, and a community center named in honor of Dr. Smith. I shared with Wordsprint Mountain Valley's other ventures, the free community newspaper called The Link Letter, the creation of the Eastmont Tomato Festival. I took them to eastern Montgomery County's old fire station, which Mountain Valley acquired in 2011 to transform into a food pantry and thrift store. And on to the local middle school, whose surplus athletic complex was taken over by the foundation in 2014 to create Old Town Fields, with a monthly concert series and other community events. And with this introduction, it was time to introduce the folks from Wordsprint to the board of Mountain Valley Charitable Foundation. While Wordsprint got to work on Mountain Valley's rebranding, I got to work meeting some folks benefiting from Mountain Valley's mission.
My name is Bernie Vishnesky.
My name is Kathleen McGovern.
My name is Javar Robinson.
Kate Stewart.
I came to this area for college, and I've been here ever since.
I've been in Shawsville since 1964. Well, I'm from Pennsylvania, and then I got a scholarship to Virginia Tech to play football. After that, I was drafted by the New York Giants. I was cut, picked up by Green Bay Packers, was there for 5 weeks, and cut again. Went back to Pennsylvania and worked with my father for a couple of years, and came back to Tech to finish. After I finished, I took a job in Shawsville as a teacher, and I've been here ever since.
I came up here about 6 years ago. I spent 11 years and 4 months in the Marine Corps. I drove trucks, motor T. Moved to Hillsville at first, and then shortly after moved to Shawsville, Virginia.
I've been in Shawsville all my life.
Well, I told my wife, I said a long time ago, I said, I want to work out, I says, because of my grandchildren. I says, I want to stay alive. I says, I don't want my grandchildren to look at a photo album 20 years from now, and they say, who's that handsome old man in the photo album? And they say, that's your grandfather. I'd rather they say, do you remember when Grandpa took us fishing? And he was so happy when we caught our first fish.
And so when you don't have children in the school system, you don't get to know people. So when this opened, I got to know all these people from Elliston, Shawsville, Oronto, Glenver, all over. So it's truly a community center as well as a gym, library, etc.
Being in the Marine Corps and being fitness has been a part of my life since I was 7, Little League football on up. So when I actually found this place, it was heaven sent, if you will.
10 years ago, I started coming here and then became an instructor, I guess 8 years ago. And then 5 years ago, really kind of put everything into being active and taking a different approach to it and really trying to expand my fitness.
I was 290 pounds and I lost 40 pounds in a year's time. And I think that's helped me survive for the last 20 years.
I have frequently described it as a jewel or a gem. Been great for me as well as the community.
The gym is very similar to life, because no matter how much harder it is, you got to keep pushing through it. No matter what trials and tribulations, no matter how heavy that set is, you learn more about yourself by pushing through it. It's amazing. I think without this place, it wouldn't be much else here.
I think it's a gathering place for the people. This is my community, yes.
Here is home to me, and I want to do everything I can to keep the fitness center going and just give back what I can to it.
The community center at Meadowbrook provides the only local venue for families to hold a large event.
My name is Deborah Kittinger. I've lived in this area all of my life, in Ellett Valley the majority of it. Was born in Meredith, married a Kittinger a little over 44 years ago. We both come from sizable families. And we love the center down here.
Wow. So finding a space to have any kind of family function is a challenge.
Any kind. I mean, my brothers and sisters, by the time you add all of their families, it's usually 75 to 100 people. So we need a lot of space. Then every Christmas Eve, just like Mama did, we have a big get-together. That's where there's usually 75 to 100 people. And we have a blast. My family, we like to pick and carry on and goof off with each other. No, we've just got a lot of good memories from down here, a lot of good memories.
Just down the road in Shawsville is Old Town Fields, one of the only venues in Virginia that figured out a way to safely stage a concert during COVID-19.
Yeah, Mountain Valley has really made a difference in the community here. With the dance floor, with the stage, they've booked some fantastic bands in here, and we're bringing people in from Roanoke, Benton, Rocky Mount, everywhere to come and hear them. Mountain Valley's done a wonderful job.
When I was growing up here, if it wasn't football season, you have a big crowd for those. Then you have your big lull. You might have the 4th of July. Other than that, there wasn't a real need or excuse to get a big bunch of people together. So this is nice because you have a lot of people who have never really been to Shawsville before. We have the beautiful mountains and the beautiful valley. We have just several people who are so good at what they do. With like Jimmy Williams, we gave him the stage and said, Jimmy, go ahead with it, and he just ran with it. And the fields, Casey Underwood is just a magician. This is everything he does. So it's one of those, you don't have to hover him. He knows exactly what to do. Like the field's marked out better than any sort of committee could design. That he just sort of takes over, you show up and go, wow, he did a really good job.
And further down the road, the old Elliston Fire Station, now the Eastmont Thrift Store and Food Pantry, provides food for more than 100 families a month, and a purpose for the volunteers serving there.
I'm Joyce Kelly. I work with the Dale's Place Food Pantry, sponsored by the Shawsville Lay Ministerial Association and then sponsored by the Mountain Valley Charitable Foundation. I've been working with the food pantry now for almost 7 years. Each month we serve anywhere from 110 to 140.
Everything that we say and all that we are, be pleasing in your sight. For we ask it in your holy name. Amen.
Amen. My husband passed away in October 27th of 2013. It'll be 7 years in a few minutes, in a few days. On Sunday, after we had his service on Saturday, I went to church. And I didn't sit in my regular place, I sat in another place. It happened to be behind Vicki and David, who were running this place. And they said they needed help. They announced that they needed help at the food pantry. And so I volunteered. But at that point, because he had passed away, we'd been married like 66 years, and I had to make a life without him, And anybody who's been through this knows exactly what I'm talking about. I could have sat at home on my sofa and watched The Days of Our Lives or whatever, but inside I couldn't do that. And I really had to find a way to help people, because we had supported this financially as long as he was living. But after he passed away, then I knew that I had to do something else, and this filled that void in my life.
I think that the Mountain Valley Charitable Foundation, was just maybe sounding a little stale. And of course, with the Mountain Valley Pipeline, it had some negative connotations with some public. And they really wanted to capture more that they were all about community, and it was this Eastern Montgomery region. And the name they eventually chose from several that we came up with various logos and images was Eastmont Community Foundation. And they've done the rollover. I don't know if you realize it, but we've actually completed the website. I think it's still in some testing phases now. But new website, new colors, new logos. And each of their entities, their properties, has their sub-logo, and it's really tightly knit branding right now. And again, it's not due to us, it's due to them. They knew exactly what they wanted. That's connection and community, and that really helped. It made it easy.
My name is Lauren Tate. I'm the president of Eastmont Community Foundation, which was formerly known as Mountain Valley Charitable Foundation. Yes, all the major programs that the Community Foundation supports, such as the Link Letter, Waldron Fitness, Old Town Fields, Meadowbrook Center and the thrift store are all on the same website, so users will be able to go see what all the other entities are doing under the umbrella of Eastmont Community Foundation.
I'm Ellen Ryan, and I'm the treasurer now of Eastmont Community Foundation. We're so happy to say that Wordsprint has put up a banner at the field, and it says, Wordsprint supports Eastmont Community Foundation, and we almost got a tear in our eye over how special that is that they've helped us so much. We actually just did our scholarships. We have our distribution committee, and it's just so ingratiating to read the applications and to realize what a difference we're making in our community. And that's what we're here for. And really working with Wordsprint really made us look at what we're doing and say, yeah, we're pretty good.
Well, thank you and all your team again for donating an incredible amount of time to help these two nonprofits. Any parting thoughts from you about, the work that you've done?
Well, it's been great to work with these organizations. I mean, it's a joy, and I'm glad we're able to help them. But what I hope they realize is that they've helped us so much too. Every time we do one of these projects, we discover more about ourselves, about who we are, and how to better, as we always say, it's all about getting the right message to the right people with the right rhythm. This really helped us on that messaging side to, think about it more clearly. So we're as grateful as they are.